Hi, this is Coach Smith from Speedway High School. I'm the girls varsity basketball coach, and I've got a couple former players here to help me today demonstrate some drills. I've got Carly Smith and Mackenzie Smith. They are my daughters. They played for Speedway a few years ago, so you may have seen them out, but since we are unable to have our summer camp this year, we wanted to show you a few drills that you might be able to do at home if you want to practice some basketball skills, since we aren't able with the COVID-19 virus just to have our camp. So the first thing we're going to teach is we're going to talk about how they're going to hold the basketball. A lot of people always ask us, exactly how am I supposed to hold the basketball? I don't know where to put it when I shoot it. So they're going to demonstrate a perfect way to do that. So we simply just tell our girls just to hold the basketball out, and when they flip the ball around, wherever that natural spot is, that's where their shooting pocket is what we call it. So a lot of people aren't sure. They put it in front of their face or off to the side. Wherever that natural spot is where they're doing that. So that becomes their natural spot where they shoot. When they hold the basketball, we talk about not holding it straight on their palm. We want to see a little bit of light between the ball and their hand when they shoot. So that's always a good thing, so that it will come off your fingertips and not off your palm when you shoot the basketball. So just if you're curious how to hold it, once again, girls, just show that, and that's their shooting pocket. So one of the very first things we would do when we shoot the basketball is we do something called form shooting, all right? So we're gonna have the girls demonstrate that. You'd go as close to the basket as you can to do this, all right? And probably about 3 feet out, and you're just simply trying to work on your form when you're shooting, all right? So we're not really worried about if they are making it. We're just really worried about watching their form as they shoot the basketball, and that is the very first thing we do when we go in the gym, or maybe you can do that when you're working in your driveway. After they shoot about 3 or 4 times, they'll take a step backwards, and they'll just continue to do that. About every 3 to 5 times they shoot, they are trying to just take a step back. For a lot of girls, they'll ask us, where exactly should I be aiming at? We talk about a dartboard in our girls basketball program. So if we had a dartboard you were throwing darts at, and you imagine that dartboard was the rim, you're trying to hit it right in the middle of the bullseye every single time. And if you do that, it generally would not hit the rim, it would go right through the middle, and that's kind of what we talk about when we do that. So once again, they're taking steps back until they get to the free throw line. So go ahead and take a couple steps back. And they do that until they got to about the free throw line. If you're working in your driveway doing this, obviously you'd probably want to measure back to where the free throw line would be. And then if you have a partner like they do, then you'd have somebody rebounding for you during that time. So why don't we shoot a few free throws now, girls? Okay, so one would go to the free throw line, the other one would just simply rebound for her. She would take a couple shots from the free throw line because she's nice and warmed up. You'll notice when Carly shoots it, she kind of dips the ball down a little bit. We talk a lot about dipping the basketball. All the research shows us that with girls or boys, doesn't matter, if you dip the basketball before you shoot it, we call that being in your rhythm. And that's just called rhythm shooting when we do that. So when we start doing our ball handling, we call this thing the plug 10. All right, so like the spark plug 10, they're 10 real quick ball handling drills that our girls do, and they're just standing stationary when they do that. If you're at home, the best time to do that, do about each one of these for about 3 to 5 seconds. Our high school girls actually do these, and Mackenzie and Carly actually did these when they played for us as well. So we're going to talk them through the plug 10, and there's just a real quick rapid through. We'll go through it a couple times just so that you can get used to that, all right? So the first one's called ball slaps, fingertips, right leg pass, left leg pass, right leg dribble. They're doing that just with their right hand. They're trying to push the basketball through. Now they're going to do their left hand, left leg dribble. Then they'll do figure 8 pass. They're just making it 8. Then they'll do figure 8 dribble. And then we'll do what's called the spider dribble. So it's 2 in front, 2 in back, and then they'll do toss up. And when we do toss up, they're tossing the ball up, they're simply trying to catch the ball behind their head. As the girls get older, we actually tell our high school girls, see how high you can throw the basketball once you get your rhythm. Some of our girls at the high school can actually throw it pretty close to the ceiling and still catch it. So just real quick, we'll go through those again just so that you can see what the plug 10 ball handling is. So it's ball slaps, it's fingertips, it's right leg pass, it's left leg pass, it's right leg dribble, it's left leg dribble, figure 8 pass, figure 8 dribble, spider dribble, and toss up and catch behind your head. And we tell our high school girls we like it when actually you're making a mistake in the ball handling, because we know that you're actually trying to be better. So we're not really worried about the mistakes, we're just worried about you going through those repetitions when we do that. All right, so that's just our stationary type ball handling. You notice we weren't dribbling the ball a whole lot, but now we're gonna show you some dribbling where they can just stay stationary and dribble like that. Okay, so now we're just gonna do our stationary dribble stuff. Okay, so it's pounds, either right hand or left hand, doesn't matter. And they're just trying to bounce it as hard as they can. All right, then they go high dribble, then they go low dribble, then they switch hands. Same thing, pound dribble, high dribble, low dribble, and crossovers in front. And they're just simply trying to keep the basketball right now below their knees, and they're just crossing it back and forth. Now we do behind our back. When we do behind our back, it's nothing more than a crossover in front. It's just a crossover behind your knees. So that's a lot. When we say behind the back, we're not really wrapping the ball around our body at this point. We're just kind of doing crossovers in front and then crossovers behind our legs. Okay, so the next thing we'll teach them to do is called the bulldog dribble. It's nothing more than a push and a pull. We're doing it on the sides of our bodies. We're doing it in front. You notice they're just both starting with their right hand. They're push-pull on the side. Then they go to the opposite side, push-pull. We call that the bulldog dribble. And then they take that back to the hand they started with, and they push-pull in front. Then they switch hands, push-pull again. Almost looks like windshield wipers on a car. They're going back and forth and just doing that as much as they can. Okay, so now what we're teaching is now we did our stationary ball handling, so now we're doing ball handling on the move. They're doing that with just one basketball. They're doing nothing more than picking a spot on their driveway. They're just dribbling down with one hand, back with the opposite hand. So let's have you guys do that. So you're dribbling down with one hand, you're dribbling back with the opposite hand. Okay, so you can do that a few times. The next thing we would tell our girls to do is we'd have our campers actually do the crossover dribble now on the move. And you'd pick a spot in your driveway, they're gonna pick one of the lines, they're gonna cross over, they'll dribble towards me, you'll turn around, do the same thing going back. Okay, so now you're doing crossovers. So they're trying to keep that ball as low as they can. They're just dribbling to a spot, turning around, picking a spot to cross over, and go back and forth that way. You can do that as many times as you want. It just changes up the pace of what they're doing. Now we're going to do some 2-ball dribble stuff. So when we do 2-ball dribble, we start the same way as we started with 1 ball. So it's just 2-ball stationary. So we do a lot with 2 basketballs, especially with our high school kids. I would suggest that younger girls in a camp situation work on just the 1 ball until you can become really good at that. And then as you get to be a really good ball handler, as you get older, you can do the 2 balls. So we're going to show some 2-ball, okay? So it's pound. So it's just like the 1 ball, now it's high dribble. Then it's alternating. Then it's low dribble. Then it's high dribble. Then alternate. That just gives them some practice with 2 basketballs. Then what we would have them do is we'd have them scoot back again to the starting point that we just came from. And now we're going to do 2-ball dribbling on the move. All right, so it's just down and back. So once again, it's the same thing. We just put 2 basketballs in each of their hands, and now we have just dribbling back and forth on the move. All right, so now we would move into some passing now. So the next thing we'd have our campers do is work on passing. So if you don't have a partner to do this with, you can always do it against like a garage or a wall. Just so happens that we have partners here that we can do this with, and they're just simply working on passing the ball back and forth. So we're gonna do bounce passes. So they're stepping, they're trying to pass from about where their belly button is, and they're trying to hit their partner about where their belly button is. And once again, if you don't have a partner, or maybe mom and dad aren't helping you, maybe they're gone, you could actually do it maybe against the wall if you were by yourself, and it would be the same thing. After they did a few passes of bounce, then they do chest passes. So just like it sounds, we're just passing towards the chest and from the chest, not necessarily the belly button, they're passing actually from that spot. Now they take a step back, give them some space, and now they're just gonna do a 2-hand overhead pass. So they still step, and it's really important that you step when you do this. A lot of girls will not like to step when they throw it, but they're always stepping, and you notice that ball is almost in a straight line. They're just snapping it from their head, over their head with 2 hands. And the very last one we would teach is called the softball pass. Same thing, it's like you're throwing a softball. And we teach our girls in camp, one of the things we want to do is pass the ball ahead on the floor as much as we can. So this just practices that skill, and once again, just passing back and forth with each other. All right, so now we transition into our shooting. All right, and the first thing we do is mic and drill. All right, so Carly's gonna demonstrate that. She's going off 2 feet every time. And we really emphasize as she bounces back and forth, just trying to lay it up off the glass every time. She's trying to use the glass every single time. And she's using her left hand on the left side. She's using her right hand on the right side. And that's really important. And we do this every single day in our camps, in our winter league practices, and we do this with our high school kids almost every single day. Okay, so that's called micing. All right, so Mackenzie's gonna step in. Mackenzie's gonna do what we would call X-outs, and those are simply backspinning the ball to herself. She drop steps, dribbles, and finishes also using the glass. So she's just going back and forth. She's trying to get it right up on the glass every time. And she just goes back and forth. And actually these next 2 drills that we've shown you are actually some station work that we do in our winter PYL. We also do it in camps, and they actually have a scorecard they can record how many makes they get. And they're doing this, each one of these things for about 30 seconds each, and their partner, which happens to be Carly here, is counting the number of makes that she gets. Okay, stop. All right. So now what we're doing is, the next station we're doing is called form J's, or form jumpers. So we're kind of going back to what we did at the beginning where we're doing form shooting, but now we're doing it for a score. All right, so the way we score this is, when she shoots it, if it's a swish and it doesn't hit the rim or the backboard and it just goes through the net, we give her 2 points every time she gets that one of those. If it happens to hit the rim or it hits the backboard but it still goes in, that's worth 1 point. So her partner, what she's doing is she's counting to see how many points she gets in about a 30-second time frame. So it works on not just your form, but now you're focusing on whether it's going to be a swish for 2 points, or if it's just a make, it would be worth 1. And every day that you did that, you would compete against yourself and try to make more the next day than you made. How many did she make? So right now she was at 17 points. So if that was the end, then what we would do is the next day we'd try to get her to score more than 17 points. So Carly's going to demonstrate the next thing we're doing. The next thing that we're doing is called X-cross. All right, and it's simply starting where the elbow is. Now, if you're not sure what the elbow is, for our younger girls, the elbow is where the free throw line and the lane line meet. That corner is called the elbow. So Carly's starting in one elbow. She's going to be dribbling in here in a second, and she is going to shoot her layup. She's going to rebound it. She's going to dribble to the other elbow and dribble in and shoot a layup. All right, and she would continue to do that for about 30 seconds. So you notice that she dribbles in, She dribbles to the other side. Whether she makes it or misses it, she just gets the ball and comes to the next spot. And her partner is counting to see how many layups she's gonna make in about a 30-second time period. And once we say stop, Mackenzie would tell her how many points she scored, and she knows that she would write 4 down on her scorecard. Mackenzie's gonna do the next one, which is called block-to-block shooting. So on a basketball court, there's a lane and you have like a block, and that's basically her point of reference. If you're not at a basketball court or have lines that are on that, you can just imagine where that might be, and you might even want to put like a cone down or a chair or something that you can go back and forth in, because that would be helpful. We happen to not have those here because those are all at the high school and just haven't had a chance to go get those with the virus that's been going around. So Mackenzie is shooting block to block, and she is trying to bank the ball in every single time. She's trying to use the backboard every single time she does this. Carly's counting. Once her time is up, she'd ask Carly, hey, how many did I hit? How many did she hit? She happened to hit 4 right there. We would obviously do that in a longer time frame, which would be a lot more points, but the next day she'd try to make more than she made today. Baseline drive is the next one we're gonna show. So when we do a baseline drive, some people call it a power layup, all right? So what we would do is we would put a cone out here where she's starting. Usually it's probably about where the 3-point line would be, but because of our space purposes, we're doing it a little bit closer. So what she's gonna do is she's gonna dribble in a second around the cone, and she's gonna dribble in, and she's gonna get her toes facing the baseline. Once they get there, then she's just shooting it right off the glass. She's gonna rebound it, she's gonna dribble to the other side, she's gonna dribble in, get her toes to the baseline, and she would shoot a layup again. Just making sure, once again, toes are towards the baseline, she's using the backboard every time she shoots it. All right, let's go ahead and try that. Okay, so we're watching to see, are her toes getting to the baseline every time? And once they are, that's when she's shooting it. Now the purpose of that is, a lot of times campers want to know, well, why do I have to get my toes to the baseline? Because as Carly does this, if I'm guarding Carly, it's harder for me to block it without fouling her if her toes are to the baseline, because I would almost have to come over her back to try and block the shot. And she or her partner are just counting how many makes is she getting in the 30 seconds. Once we say stop, then we tell her how many she made. She made 8 right there. She'd record that on her score sheet. So now we move on to passing. So now we're going back to our passing, and they're gonna pass with just their right hand. So their chest pass, it's one hand pass right. So they're still stepping, and they're just working on passing it back and forth with their right hand. Once again, they would have a scorecard to do this. They'd do it for about 30 seconds. They'd see how many passes they could get. Once again, if you don't have a partner, you can do this easily against like a wall, against a brick wall, or maybe a wall in your garage, as long as your parents were okay with you doing that. Once they got done, we'd say stop, then they go left hand. So now they're just passing with their left hand. And once again, each one of these things we're doing lasts for about 30 seconds. They're just trying to count in their head how many passes each one's thrown, so that they know what to record on their camp station sheet, which is exactly what we're doing once again in our summer camps. We're also doing that in our winter leagues. It just really focuses on passing. Now we're gonna do behind the back passing, all right? So the first one they're gonna do is behind the back pass left. So they'll be passing with their left hand around their back, and they're passing to their partner or against the wall if they needed to do it against the wall. They'd be counting how many times they get that. You'll notice it's easier to do that as a bounce pass. And it really teaches our campers get a feel of the basketball. It's actually not just working on passing, it's working on some ball handling as well. Once they got done with that one, they do the same thing, they just do it with their opposite hand. So they're just passing back and forth again. Now it just is the one hand behind the back with their right hand is what they're doing now. They did left hand, and they're doing right hand now. So now we're continuing to do our 30-second station work. This one is called sit down left hand. So Carly is sitting down with her left hand and she's dribbling on the outside and the inside of her leg, and every time she gets it across her body, that counts as one. And her partner is gonna score that for her. So it's left hand only. Once her 30 seconds are up and we say stop, then we do the same thing with our right hand. So we go ahead and we're going outside of our leg, insides of our legs, outside, and we're just moving back and forth and trying to control the basketball. Okay, stop there for a second. So what happens is a younger camper would really struggle probably with that because their hand just isn't really strong enough. As they get older, it becomes a little bit easier. For some of our high school girls, that's a tough thing to do even. So even if our younger girls are trying to do that, don't get frustrated if you can't. It's just something that you will get better at the more you bounce the basketball. All right, so the next thing they'll do, Mackenzie is going to describe or do for us, and it's called the figure eight dribble. We did this a few minutes ago, but now we're counting every time she dribbles in an 8 pattern, that counts as 1. And as she comes around, that counts as 2. And she continues to make this 8 pattern with the dribble, and Carly is counting how many times does she make an 8 in 30 seconds. And then we say stop. How many did she get, Carly? She got 7 that time. So we'd write 7 on her scorecard. Now we'll do spider dribble, and Carly will do the spider dribble. All right, once again, now we're doing it for a score. All right, it's 2 dribbles in front, 2 dribbles in back. And every time her hand hits the basketball, we count that as a point. She does that for 30 seconds. We say stop. How many did she hit? She hit the ball 24 times in a 30-second time period, and then we try that again the next day. Now we're doing back wraps. Back wraps are simply passing the ball around your waist or around your back. And every time she would do that, she'd get to the front, she starts at her belly button. Every time it comes back around to her belly button, that counts as 1. Carly's counting for her, so she knows how many back wraps she had. Stop, how many? She got 15 that time. So now Carly jumps up and is going to do the next one for us. The next one are figure 8 wraps. So we did figure 8 dribble, now we're doing figure 8 wraps where it's just passing. Every time she makes an 8 with that basketball, we count that as 1. And so if she's by herself, she would count on her own, but if she had a partner, Mackenzie would be counting. Okay, stop. How many did she get? She got 5 that time just on the passing. So the next one we're going to do is called the Jerry West drill. Some people know it as the star drill. We call it the Jerry West drill just because we knew that the NBA player Jerry West, way back in the day, did this as a drill almost every day he was in the gym. So I'm going to describe what she's going to do, and then we're going to watch her do it. Once again, it lasts for about 30 seconds. She's going to shoot from the baseline corner right now where she's going. Hang on. And then she's going to go to that baseline and shoot from the same spot. Carly will rebound for her. So you really need a partner to do this with. It helps if you have a partner. Once they shoot from both baseline spots, then they come to the opposite wing. Once they shoot that, they go across to the next wing. And after they do that, they go up near where the free throw line would be. And then they just continue that progression. Baseline, baseline, wing, wing, free throw line. So that's kind of the progression they do in a 30-second time frame. All right, so we're gonna let Matt go ahead and start. So she goes baseline, and she goes to the other baseline. As soon as she shoots it, she comes to this wing near where I am. She shoots it, she goes to the other wing. She shoots it, she goes to the free throw line area. She shoots it, and we go through the progression again. So she starts again, and we continue to do that progression, or those spots, until that 30-second time frame is up, and Carly is counting how many makes she gets in that time frame. And we'd say stop, and then they would just share how many they made in that 30 seconds. Okay, so that's called Jerry West shooting. The next one is called crossover step. You do this from both wings. So we teach our girls to step across their body, take a dribble, and pull up and shoot. Then they would go to the other wing and they do the exact same thing. They would cross over, pull up, and shoot. And she would do that for 30 seconds. That's called a crossover step. Ready? Go. So she goes to the other one, she cross over, step, catch and shoot, crossover step, and shoot. And we continue that progression once again for 30 seconds, just like we have most of our things that we're doing. Crossover step, and then we say stop. She'd record how many she made. And it's really important, our younger girls, to know, even if you make 0 one time, then the next time you do it, you're trying to make more than 0. You're just trying to make more the next time that you do it. The next one that Mackenzie's going to show is actually called drive step. Instead of crossing over, she's just going to drive, take a dribble, and just shoot it. She's going to go to the next wing. She's just catching, one drive, shoot. We're not really worried about crossing that leg over. We're just worried about getting straight on, and we're trying to get past the person that's playing defense on us. And then we'd say stop. We'd record how many she made. And the next one we would do is called machine gun J's. We do this from the free throw line. And we have someone rebounding, so you'll need a partner to do this with, or a mom or a dad to help you. And we're just simply going to pass it to Carly, and she's going to catch and shoot. And as soon as she rebounds it, they're going to pass it right back to her. And she's just doing that, catch and shoot, and machine gun, meaning she's doing it as quickly as she can. We really watch our campers and their footwork. So what Carly's doing is she's stepping in every time she shoots it. And we're just trying to keep track of how many she makes. And we say stop. And then we'd write down how many she made. So the next one we do are called free throw streaks. So these two are all from the free throw line. So when we tell her to go, she's shooting free throws for 30 seconds again. We're trying to see how many she makes in a row. So let's say she made 2 in a row, and then she missed the next one. So then we would start over again. How many is she going to hit in a row? The most consecutive that she hits in a row in 30 seconds, that's the record that we're trying to record on her sheet for the next time she does it. All right, so go ahead and do your, now when we do this one, we're not really doing this one speed. We're just really taking our time, and whatever your routine is to shoot a free throw with, we're telling you to do that every time on a free throw. So if you're watching Mackenzie's probably doing the exact same thing every time. She backspins it to herself, she dribbles it about 4 times, because that's what she likes to do. Now, for some people, they may only dribble it 2 times. They may dribble it once. We just want her to do the same routine every single time that she shoots it. So, once again, we're just trying to get her to the point where see how many she can make in a row. Last 2 station drills we do, one's called tennis ball toss, and Carly's going to just do that one for us, and she's also going to do what's called tennis ball crossover. So right now on this 30-second station, she's dribbling a basketball with one hand, and she's tossing a tennis ball in the air with the other hand. Every time she catches that tennis ball, that counts as 1. And so we do that for 30 seconds to see how many times she can catch it. We'd say stop, and we'd record the number of times that she caught that tennis ball. The next one, she only needs a tennis ball. Now we're going to show you this in 2 different ways. Okay, we're going to first show you how a younger player, a youth player, probably in 1st, 2nd, even 3rd grade would do this. All she's going to do is she's going to cross the ball back and forth, and we're just counting how many crossovers that she gets there. Now, it's easier to do that with 1 ball. Okay, if it's a more advanced player, somebody that's a little bit older, maybe 4th grade and beyond, she would do the same thing, but now they're doing it with 2 tennis balls. And every time she catches it, counts as 1. And we're just recording for 30 seconds how many times it would take for her to do that. The reason that we use tennis balls, you can go ahead and stop. The reason we use tennis balls is because then when you put a basketball in your hand, it's a lot easier to dribble a basketball after having focused with just a tennis ball. What we just described to you were things that we would do in camp, or things you could just do at home. I actually have an explanation sheet and a recording chart that goes with everything that we just did. So if any parents, if you're interested in getting that, if you email me, I'd be happy to send that to you, or if you have any questions about what we did, I'd be happy to do that as well. Email address is jsmith@speedwayschools.net. Finally, we're looking forward to the winter so we can get our youth back together. We're going to try some new things this winter, so you'll want to listen to our town website, our social media accounts. We'll be talking about what we're going to do in the winter. We're going to have some league information, but we're going to try some new things this year with that. And with that, hope everybody's staying safe and everybody's healthy.